Good morning. I'm sorry. Sorry. Whoa. I'm sorry. It's smoky here in Fresno. Good morning. Welcome to Yes, California, Calexit Congress. It's a beautiful Sunday at 11 here in California, wherever you are in our nation state. And we're going to have our weekly meeting. Apologize, not as organized as normal, but still a good show. We've been having massive meetings throughout the week, working with other political party candidates and launching our own political party. In fact, let's go to that. 1 second, sorry. Hey, do you want to come to a meeting? Yeah, I'm in the middle of a group meeting. Would you like to come on in?
I'm at the beach.
Okay. Well, let me go and I'll call you back then, okay? Yes. Okay, well, I'm gonna yes, I'm gonna send you the link right now. 1 second, so I can get the. Yeah, give me 1 second here. There you go. Yeah. Please, if you can, join us, and then we can talk about the political party thingy. All right, brother. I'll see you in a minute. Okay, sorry about that. Fuji Shioura will be joining us. He is the director of the Yes California Political Party Exploration Commission, which has had 2 meetings, and we'll be having another meeting this Tuesday. So if you're interested in being part of exploring a new political party, it would be this Tuesday at 7 o'clock. We'll send out the link with newly appointed officer and director Fuji Shioura. He'll be here in a second. We've been doing a lot of things. One of the main things we've been working on is creating a new political party. We've had 2 meetings with that. Fuji Shioura came on. He's the director. Robert Stark and Jason were there. In fact, let's do that. Robert and Jason, you're both here. In like no more than 2 to 3 minutes each. Actually, there's Fuji.
Hello, hey, everybody.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm at the beach in San Diego. I imagine it might be, somewhat good and bad. So I'm listening for a few minutes. I do want to say I thought about a lot of the topics last night, and I'm still reviewing them. Tomorrow I will be in West LA, so for the day. And hopefully we can coordinate more, Marcus, on that. I'm trying to meet Enrique Sanchez. Enrique Sanchez is a young man that wants to run for state assembly, and he's from Glendale. And he's about 30-something and Puerto Rican, interestingly enough.
Yeah. Fuji, do me a favor. Wow, I don't know what happened. Some sort of bug crawled into my throat last night. Sorry. Director Shioura of the Yes California Political Party Exploration Commission. I know you only have a few minutes, busy man. Appreciate your time. Could you walk us through what is the Yes California Political Party Exploration Commission as you see it? No more than 2 to 3 minutes. And then we'll go to Jason Wright and Robert Stark. But first, I'd like to hear from the director. And I'd like to remind everybody this Tuesday, 7 o'clock, if you'd like to get involved, you can definitely do that, and I will get you the information. Director Fuji Shioura, what is this project? How would you describe it? In just a few minutes, sir.
A few minutes, the way I describe it is we need to give people a viable, reliable, consistent choice other than the Republican and Democrat Party that really empowers Californians to have a say in where the tax dollars go, where our policy and culture, what makes us Californians, that makes us great. And what makes us great is that this panel alone was diversified. That now is the time to give voters a viable choice. While we do have other parties, Green Party, Libertarian Party, and a few others, none of them, unfortunately, have proposed a consistent platform in the style of what we are calling sovereign choice, a sovereign choice.
Okay, I know we lost Fuji there for a second. What he's talking about is, the sovereign choice idea that one of the things that might be something that people would be willing to associate with safely. So if you tell them, hey, full-blown secession, it's like it's a big bridge for them to cross. But if you say, hey, what if California became like a territory like Puerto Rico? Then you're kind of quasi-independent and you're able to act like a nation. Like Puerto Rico has a lot of things that are more national than a regular state. And so Fuji's exploring the idea that we could talk about California taking territory status, which is completely legal, and Puerto Rico has. And he's finding a lot of openness to that idea. It's what I call safe. I know we have a little bit of difficulty with Fuji. Let's go to Robert Stark or Jason Wright. Robert or Jason, would you like to talk about the Political Party Exploration Committee and what's been going on?
Yeah, we had a meeting last night for this Political Party Exploration Committee, and I don't have it on me right now, but we do. I think the main focal point, like 60 to 70% of the meeting, was on these platform points. So if Marcus, if you have it on you, or I can, if you have those points, if you want to read them to the group.
Yeah, sure. So let me find that email real quick, and then we'll do that. That's a good point. Give me 1 second. There it is. Okay. All right, I'm going to do a share screen. Okay, can everybody see this? It should say suggestions. Sorry, too many meetings this week. The brain's totally fried. Can everyone see this? I'm going to assume that's yes. Okay. So basically, the idea is the political party will have 10 platform planks. These have to be things that people of many different political parties, Tea Party, Green Party members, Bernie Sanders people, disaffected Republicans, and some Dems could join. And it has to be open to many people of different sovereignty levels. So these are only suggestions, only suggestions, only suggestions. This is the draft. This is the draft. This does not mean they're going to be the top 10 things. We are taking suggestions. Want to be clear so I'm not getting phone calls about, oh my God, are you planning on doing X? We're brainstorming. These are ideas and suggestions, and we encourage you to submit some, but we are going to whittle them down to 10. This is just a brainstorm at this stage. So, number one, there was a California genocide of the indigenous. We need to recognize that. Maybe that includes reparations. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it just includes launching a commission on exploration of reparations for the genocide. Platform 2 was what we call the Swiss canton model. Regions can opt out of some limited Sacramento rules, maybe take this down to the zip code level, or maybe leave it at the county level. Again, they would be able to opt out of some rules, giving them some degree of freedom. Number 3, modernize all infrastructure. This one seemed to be very popular with us because everything's kind of falling apart. And to say, we should have the best of everything and upgrade is something I think many people could agree to. Another one that I thought might make it, again, these are draft, maybe it won't, but I thought this might, was a right to privacy or an internet bill of rights. So California invented the smartphone, it invented Silicon Valley. In our California Constitution, we actually have something that's a right that Americans do not have. Yes, that's correct. Californians have a right to privacy, whereas Americans do not. That's how we were able to pass the some of the internet laws that came out. So we could build upon that. There's a basis to build upon that. Californians have already done some very California type things based upon that. Platform 5 is all decisions are best made in California among only Californians. So this is getting at, we got to get people to agree that we should be acting more like a nation. Some people don't want to go all the way to full-blown secession. Some people just like the idea of ignoring federal laws on things that they like immigration, which is a form of secession, but they don't see it that way. So we wanted to have a variety of options for sovereign choice. And this is just an attempt to word that all decisions are best made in California among only Californians. Whatever degree we can push decision-making to this is best. So it gives people flexibility. Another one was an affordable housing market. We should be looking at how to adjust the housing market so that there's affordable housing. Maybe we offer a guaranteed affordable housing or other options. Platform 7, a joint trade zone with Tijuana. Again, a highly controversial idea. This would have to be worked down so that it doesn't come across as saying we're just going to allow 7 million Baja Mexicans into California. That would not go over well. But we are looking at possibly the idea of a joint trade zone from Tijuana to San Diego, where people could move freely back and forth within that region and not outside. It would also allow the incorporation of California laws into the Tijuana region, allowing homeowners and investors to be able to make investments knowing that they're backed by the full trust and faith of the California legal system, something that's prevented more investment in Tijuana. In return, Tijuana gets a lot of jobs, and in return, there's a housing problem in California. One of the most...
Also, is there a specific geographic location for this?
Right now, the idea is roughly Tijuana up to roughly San Diego. That's as far as we've gotten. It's very draft, but yeah. So ideas are welcome and open. Platform 8, goodwill embassies. Symbolically, we could have these goodwill embassies as if California is a thing, or a trade embassy. So the California government loves putting trade embassies and signing treaties on climate change. So I don't see why it can't have embassies dedicated to climate change and trade, because it already does that. We would just say this is something you have to back, which no party's done before. So that's something that's very California-y and no political party's ever done. This one too, all decisions are best made in California. That's very legal and no one's ever done that. Number 9, UBI. Although it was suggested by a presidential candidate, the top experiment for running UBI is the Stanford graduate who turned into the Stockton mayor, Michael Tubbs, a couple of years experimenting this in his region. So there's a California basis for this. Highly controversial idea. It's there. Number 10, sovereign choice. Fuji's been really pioneering with the idea of sovereign choice. That you have a selection of ideas of how much sovereignty you want California to have, a range, if you will, but that you want sovereignty here, and we frame it as sovereign choice. He's very big on that phrase. One idea would be to suggest that California could be reverted back to a territory like Puerto Rico, and that through that it could achieve more independence. Number 11 was in the drug wars. Number 12 was support the Calexit Exploration Blue Ribbon Report. What we meant was we'd explored the idea that the California government does investigations into everything every year. Like should you have regulations on dog groomers, etc. So we would simply order the California government to do an exploration report on could it succeed and how it would do it. This is based upon the 2009 Coleman Commission from Scotland. So there's already an example from a country doing this, and the California government does these blue ribbon reports like 5 times a year. It's not hard. It would cost them a couple million. They could easily do it. And yes, California has put together a list of experts who could do that. So we could immediately get the procedures moving. Number 13, pensions are kept. We have to make it clear that pensions for state workers are not going to be eliminated. And this was an interesting idea. So we wanted to have conservatives and liberals all part of the same party, not because they're agreeing to everything, but there's a few things they agree to. One the ideas that came forward was this, that maybe we could have a liberal idea like UBI, but get at it through a conservative idea, like funded by government efficiency, elimination of government agents. So we go, okay, the poor people are going to get UBI, but we're going to remove some government bureaucracy in order to pay for it. So those were the ideas that we had. That's a draft. It's a draft, it's a draft, it's a draft. But what do people think? Comments?
If I could real quick, there was also a suggestion I threw out there about modernizing all of California's infrastructure. That's our water, our power, our gas, our internet, our roadways, our shipping ways, shipping lanes, air traffic stuff, all of it.
What were you going to say?
And well, that's the one of the points that I suggested last night, was that we include something about California needing to modernize. Because I really feel that if we streamline all of this stuff about the state, we'll probably be spending less on, I mean, you have to spend a little in the initial run, but then, you won't have to do it for a little while. And we can look at our history and see that, a lot of the dams were built like 50 years ago, right? And they didn't build anymore. I'm not saying I'm in love with dams or anything. I'm just saying, infrastructure projects happened and then they stopped. And roadways are kind of in, disrepair because there hasn't really been a huge modernization of our state. And so if we stop hemorrhaging out funds here and there for tiny little patchwork and we just fix it, then we might be able to afford something like universal basic income.
Right. Smart. Yeah. Smart.
Yeah, there's different proposals. Like I also proposed oil extraction tax. I know when Zoltan Isfan ran for governor as a libertarian, he proposed utilizing state-owned lands, which that's a more kind of libertarian proposal, but that's controversial from an ecological standpoint. But I have heard that proposal using federal lands to generate revenue, but that's obviously controversial. But I would say look into maybe an oil extraction tax, which Alaska has.
So Alaska charges oil companies a tax to pull the oil out.
That's correct.
Okay. I just added it right now, and I will email this to the political party exploration.
Is Public Bank on there?
No, it is not. Good point. That's right there. Nice. That might go under infrastructure, but I'm putting it as a separate item. I'll show you guys right now. I want to let Ash Voj put your comment in the list. So keep those ideas coming. Ash Voj, anybody else? Good question, good point. We're going to put that on the list. Let me go to the list. If you have any ideas, please share. That would be Alaska's UBI. Yes, Mike. Yeah, the gas tax that Alaska charges to oil extraction companies is their UBI. You basically get paid free money just for living in Alaska as a result of the gas tax. Let me show you. We are Rabbi Axelman. Your device is not connected, sir. Rabbi, you got to log out and then log back in. Okay, so I added that blockchain technology used to pursue more independence. Sorry, that's spelled wrong. From Ash Voj, and then oil extraction tax like Alaska using federal land, and then public bank. While we're here, any other ideas? Anybody? Now, this is the draft. doesn't necessarily mean it's in there. Draft, so anything goes. And really for the next week, I was talking to Fuji, we need to have just an open brainstorm with no criticism. Just all ideas are good. Collect ideas, because you're better off being in a position where you have too many good ideas and you have to whittle them down to super mega awesome great ideas versus you're struggling to come up with ones. So anybody at all suggest any idea, I will put it up right now. Rabbi Axelman, let me ask you, if you were a supreme deity and you were living in California, and although you had all these superpowers, you were tasked with a nearly impossible mission. Come up with a few ideas that liberals and conservatives in California could all agree to enthusiastically. What would you say is that superpower deity, Rabbi?
I'd say I need a lot more time to think about it, Marcus.
I'd really worked hard building that narrative house. Okay.
It was great, but I'd have to think about that one.
That would be true wisdom from a true timeless entity or deity. You know, he's got all the time in the universe, right?
Okay. All right. You saw through my narrative trap. Fine.
Sorry.
But seriously, more ideas for 10 key platform.
What about currency? I've heard a lot of talk about what if California had its own currency, whether it's backed by the US dollar or gold or silver or cryptocurrency, whatever it is. An exploratory commission to look into whether or not California should have its own currency of some sort.
Yeah. Yeah. I added it in. I added it next to public bank. So financial infrastructure. Good one. Other ideas. Every idea is good. Everything works. Everything's wonderful.
We should take a stance on entertainment, on media, the media, and the arts.
What would the stance be?
The amount of funding. So one idea is to incentives to increase innovation, and to say that streaming sites should give like a quota to independent filmmakers. That could be one. And more local based media networks on a county level, including television, film production, arts as well.
I love that. That is a great. Sorry, guys. I don't know. Mike's out here with me. There's some really bad air today. That's a brilliant idea, Robert. Because I'm in Fresno, the only remaining public access TV station in all of California is here. There used to be hundreds, and they got wiped out. And there used to be 400 media companies across America, like 150 in California. They got wiped out. They're used to 5. So saying that every city should have a local public access TV station where they make local news, that's fighting back against the consolidation of the media, and which I think has everything to do with the horrible quality of polarized information that we get. Great idea, Robert. Let's keep them coming.
Could I cut in for 1 second on this topic?
Yeah, please.
About a year and a half ago, I wrote to representatives from Finland, people who were, at that time elected officials in the Finnish parliament. The thing that I was searching for was what legislative means do you find Finnish folk have as far as guaranteeing, kind of a media accountability, if you will. I had conveyed this nice little anecdotal story about how there was an earthquake in Napa, which is only about an hour drive from me. And I got a video call from my friend in Finland, and he was asking if I was all right. And I was like, yeah, of course. Why? What's up? And then I feel some shaking. And I go, oh, wow. I think there was just kind of a big earthquake, because that I could actually feel that one. You know, Californians, we sometimes will sleep through earthquakes.
True.
That's how you know you're Californian. But he asked because he saw on his TV over there, they have a world news broadcasting thing. It's not like some news anchor sitting there talking about the news. It's kind of like the emergency broadcast system, where it's all just writing coming up on the screen, except that it got everything happening from around the world. Big things, small things, whatever's happening, they put it up there. And it's all got to be totally fact-based, unbiased. So if aliens land, they'll have to say, hey, aliens landed. If, you know, the sun explodes, they have to say, hey, sun exploded. They have their information a lot of the times before we even do. And it's almost like mind-boggling. I mean, again, my friend in Finland, 11 time zones away, knew that there had just been an earthquake before the tremors even made it to me.
And so
I
what
convey
allows
this to the guy, and to the parliamentarian, and I ask him, you know, I would love for California to be able to implement something like this. And he sent me over one, they don't have a law saying they have to translate the micro law for you. Sometimes they will because they're nice folks, but like this person realized I don't really speak much Finnish, translated the whole thing into English for me, put it into a PDF, sent it over. Like it was inspirational. The level of response that I got from another country's elected official was like 1,000 times greater than I've ever got from an American official. And
Awesome.
it was all very clear on media accountability, and I would be willing to share the PDF around, and maybe we can look into how we might support California implementing something like this.
Sounds good. We will have to boil all of it down to one sentence. Fuji Shioura, you're back. Yes, Jason, like the idea. Please send that out. And if we could boil that down to one sentence, what would it be? And then we're going to go to Fuji Shioura.
That we support California forming a fact-based, non-biased information service for the public.
Okay. All right. Is that it? Fuji, you're back. So,
Yes.
please keep talking about the political party exploration commission and how you envision that. We want it to be available for people who are Republican, Tea parties, or patriots. Well, maybe not patriots. To Green parties and liberals and Bernie Sanders people, and we think we can find some commonalities. We've discussed a couple of them, but it also, besides appealing to across multiple political parties, it also has to be appealing to people at different sovereignty levels. And how do you envision this? And we've had 2 meetings. What did you think about those, and where do you think things are going to go?
Those were excellent points brought up, and I just want to let you know, prior to answering to that question, I was on the telephone a few minutes ago with a young man named Enrique. He's Puerto Rican and running for state assembly from Glendale. I'm going to meet him tomorrow at 1 p.m. In West LA, and I'm going to bring up these points with him to really explore what's his opinion, being a 38-year-old Puerto Rican and and this is very, very interesting because once, like you said, what I'm seeing is changing party that could really reach out to many people with different opinions and persuasions, and that's what's really key here. So it's important to contact right now as many candidates at any level, from the local level to the municipal level to the county level, and tomorrow the state level. And so I'm hard at work at doing that. I'm also getting feedback from other candidates to understand what they like and not like. And this is what's really important. And I'm asking those same questions I got last night, UBI and other Swiss Canton model. And some was saying yes, some say gray, some are confused. So whatever the case may be, coming up with these points, what we do propose that we're going to have we have to have a dedicated, consistent educational campaign to inform and educate the voters what it represents. So I think that's going to represent a unique challenge for us. So whatever we do choose, we're going to have to simplify and really explain as quickly and precisely as possible. So in summary, keep it wide ranging, but keep up the core topics. I think another core topic will become, well, the Green Party, let's say the environment. The environment will play a crucial role. But what could make us different is combine that with food security. That's going to be a major issue because we'll have to come up with contingency plans if the weather becomes colder, if we have longer winters. This is disrupt the food supply in Central Valley and hence for the country. So that has to be taken into consideration. So we have to come up with contingency plans to show that we're at the forefront of planning ahead for the future. And thank you.
That's a great example. Again, brainstorming early on. I think we can do it. Just the way Fuji was merging, well, like the way Robert suggested. Okay, we'll merge UBI with government efficiency. UBI for the poor people, but we're going to clean house with the government. Conservative, liberal. Here's another one. We'll have the environment merged with food security, which is a conservative issue and a liberal issue. So
I'd also add, this is more to balance things out more for the conservative side, but we should propose vouchers for private education and also for homeschooling, which is a more libertarian or conservative position. But I'd say roughly like a 50-50 balance, like 50% left-leaning and then 50 either conservative or libertarian.
Okay, I just added that in. Homeschooling, 50-50. Public schooling.
Vouchers for homeschooling or private education.
Vouchers for homeschool. For private
Yeah, and if I could just say that, like, because I've been hearing all of this stuff on, like, private schooling isn't good or something, and I've got to say, I know I'm not like the all-star of the Calexit crew or anything, but
Yes,
I know my talents. I know I'm not at least the worst political analysis, right? I had public and private schooling. I went through a charter school at one point. There's more to be said for a child and how much they learn being based on their eagerness and willingness to learn. And I think it's even not just children, right? All humans. Sometimes we just don't want to hear it. We just don't want to learn. And in those cases, you can't learn because you don't want to. And that's nothing to do with the method of teaching or the location of the teaching. It's everything to do with, you know, the subject, the student. So I personally, you know, I do support people being able to choose where they go to school, where their kids are going to go to school. You want to homeschool them? Fine. I had friends growing up who were homeschooled, and they were actually competing with me as far as some of the smartest kids in Placer County. So, like, really, you know, I totally support that. Whatever floats your boat, you know, as long as children aren't being left behind, right?
Yeah. Other ideas? I'm sorry, I'm getting ready for us to cover some news here in a second. Any other ideas? Okay, well then let's go to this. In 2 minutes and no more than 2 minutes, I'm going to call on Robert and then Jason. Tell us how you see the goal of this political party exploration group. What are we trying to do? What do you view it as the end goal? Robert, start 2 minutes, and then Jason, Wright, 2 minutes, just so people get a feel. In your opinion, it could be however you see it. Robert, start 2 minutes. What are we trying to do? What's the goal of this? Where do you see it going? How do you envision it?
Well, long term, I don't know if it's feasible for the 2022 election, but at least by 2024, we should be running a slate of candidates. And with the platform, I would say have like 10 key points, but then have a longer version that's maybe more intricate and detailed. But we can say, like, if you're a candidate, you don't have to agree to everything, but just kind of but just to put forth, just as a kind of guideline, like maybe if you agree with 60-70%. And yeah, like what we're doing now is great, and working on releasing the platform. And Marcus, do you have an idea when when the official release is, like with a website for the party? And do you plan on running? So with the gubernatorial candidates, both Marinelli and with Fuji, are they both considering running with this party?
I would say yes. So those are really far out questions I haven't even thought of. Off the top of my head, yes. I think the idea is we want to have a political party everybody could be part of. I know I'm finding myself in commonality with the Green Party when they talk about communism. That really bothers me, but I seem to like a lot of the other stuff they said. I know that Fuji and Lewis are going more towards the Republican Party, so we already have a variety there. Veronica Fembres, who also came out and said that she was willing to have Yes California support, is a hardcore Green. Say the question one more time, Robert. I'm sorry. Too many meetings this week.
I think you answered one of them. But are you so? When do you plan on releasing the website, the official release of the party, or do you have, it has to be registered first and get the signatures? Do you plan on releasing the website first, and then do you plan on releasing a slate of candidates either 2022 or 2024?
So those are good questions. I don't have the answers for those. I think the idea would be, I can tell you what I do know. In 3 weeks, we're going to have a draft of the 10 points, period. So initially they were looking at like 3 months, and I pushed that down to 1 month. And I said, no, we're going to have something that's worthy of discussion and some sort of draft that's 80% likely to be what the final list of 10 points is going to be. And we're going to have that in 3 weeks. So once we knock that out, then I think the thing would be to go, okay, Yes California have agreed on these are the 10 points that we like. Now we have to go test that and see if people of different political parties will actually buy into it. So we come up with our list of 10 and everybody hates it. It's not going to work. So we come up with 10 that we can live with and we feel ideologically strong behind. Then we got to field test that. I mean, the whole idea is you get people of different parties to back the same thing. Once we get that field test done and confirm, I would say no more than 4 weeks, maybe 2. Maybe it's done as we're developing the points. Maybe we are in such great communication with other political parties as we develop these initial 10 points that we don't have to do much testing. But there needs to be some field testing. We're a results and marketing based group, so we always do field studies. So got to develop the list, 3 weeks, got to test that list. Maybe it can go concurrent. If not, it's probably another additional 2 to 3 weeks. Once we have a list of 10 points and we know that people of different political parties like it, then we would start getting candidates to sign on to the list. And absolutely, I think it would be the elections next year. So the elections next year are going to be for governor and a bunch of statewide offices. We already have 2 candidates who are technically running as governor in 2022, Veronica Fimbres and Fuji Shioura, already agreed that they would be willing to say that, yes, everyone in California has the right to have a vote on free association, and that if the majority, 52% of the California public supported that, they would follow the wishes of the public. Given that we already have 2 of them doing that, I think we can get others. So 3 weeks to make the list, another 2 weeks to test. Yes, we want to run a slate of candidates, and I think 2022 would be the way to do it. Fuji's more up on this, but that's also why. Oh, Fuji.
Yeah.
Robert, ask Fuji your question. Fuji can answer this a lot better than me. And we're at the initial stage where we're developing ideas. But Robert, ask the question, please.
Hey Fuji, the questions is what are the plans for releasing the website and the registration process? And are you planning on running a slate of candidates either in 2022 or waiting till 2024?
Time is of essence, number one. Number two, California can't wait. While we may not have the party have a deadline of January 2022, there's nothing stopping candidates saying, I am running as a one California party candidate. And they say, well, the party doesn't exist. You just say, well, I'm a registered Democrat, but it's a work in progress. So that's to that. Going back to the website, I am working on the back end, looking into it. I'm also have some proposals for the logos I want to show everybody. And give me about 2 more days, and I would be showing everybody some sample logos that I think could have some potential. And if not, we'll go back to the drawing board. It's basically a bear, bear shows strength. California is very iconic, American bald eagle represents the federal government, U.S. courts, federal court. We get that idea. Well, I think California, we need to be consistent and use the bear in some form or fashion, and I think that's something to consider. The registration will be online for membership. However, remember, we do need 73,000 signatures, and one way to do that is to go to each registrar in your county, and you have voter registration forms. And with those voter registration forms, if you move, relocate, or you could choose an other party. When you say other party, you write in the name California Party, one California Party, once we decide on the name. So once we get 1,000 of those, that's a good thing. But we definitely need 2,000 signatures more as a buffer, as just, be on the safe error margin. I'd hate to do all that work and they say, oh, well, you need 1,000 more because so many were invalidated because the person might have moved, relocated, got married, went out of state, came back, and so forth. So I hope that answers some of your questions.
Okay. Robert, was that a good answer?
Yeah, thanks, Fuji.
Also, one more thing I would like to add. Email will play a crucial role in this, not just for intercommunication with campaign members, but also with people at large. So I would like to, you sign up as a member of One California, for example. You have a vanity email at that location. So I think that's something that could help spread the word. Um, but what will help tomorrow, once again, I stated that I'm going to meet a young man who's running for state assembly, Democrat, liberal. I think he's very committed to running, and that's great. But what's also great, after 3 interviews, I would like to invite him and other candidates to talk about that concept, the proposal of a third party. Is it good? Is it bad? And that's okay. Let people know. Oh, it's a great idea. Oh, it's a horrible idea. That's okay. As long as it's part of the discussion, really important. And at the end of the day, once it becomes normal to talk about it, why not? If we have to make this discussion as normal, practical, logical, and reasonable as possible. I want this to be an ordinary discussion on the Bill Maher show, MSNBC, Fox News, you name it, whatever news channel. Cross all those boundaries and say, yes, here's the proposal. It is different. It is new. And for some people, it's radical. Some people are like, no, it's logical. But let's make it a discussion that has to be consistent. And that is, let's get it out there in the news channels, in the media spheres, in the blogger space, in the podcast space, so forth and so on. Thank you.
Brilliant, brilliant. Fuji's made a lot of inroads to other political party groups and many people. And, Fuji and Yes California met for the first time hosting the recall debates. And I don't think I'm putting words in Fuji's mind, but he was impressed with the work that Yes California did on the recall debates. And we kept working closely together. And Fuji was making the governor contact page, which had the most up-to-date information on the most amount of candidates. I'd never seen somebody work so hard at staying connected to so many people and keeping the public informed. And he just did it on his own. He didn't have to be asked, and he provided a public service. And that was wonderful. And it allowed us to even reach out to the candidates and make sure that we got as many as we did. So Yes California had the success we had by partnering with Fuji early on. And then he was impressed with our brand. And we kept working together, and we kind of said, we could do something here. And I think we both found that we shared a love of diversity. Whenever I saw Fuji speeches, he always talked about diversity. And he saw us at Yes California was talking about diversity and California values. And so it was beautiful to be able to see that even though we may have political differences, our love of California and our understanding of what this nation state is more powerful than anything else. I'm routinely humbled by the reality that I was able to meet Fuji and people like him who carried the dream of California being a nation independently. As I like talking with Fuji, we got started years ago. We got really big, 2018, 1/3 of California. Fuji was not part of Calexit then, but he'd always thought about this idea. And then I met him years later, and he was still like, yeah, we could do this, which was a theory we've long said here at Yes California, that the 1/3 of Californians who believed in Calexit never stopped believing. They heard rumors, they heard this or that. Biden got elected, but they never stopped going, I believe. And that's why I did a video where Fuji and I went out to the Cole Sternberg Museum on his exhibit on a nation state of California. And I just asked Fuji on video, Fuji, you and I have never met, and you've never met Cole Sternberg, and I've never met him. How come all three of us are talking about California independence? We've never met before, never talked. We're meeting for the first time through the recall debates, and we're all talking about the same thing. Unless there's 1/3 of Californians who are open to this idea. So beautiful. We're making a lot of inroads to other candidates, both left and right. And we're finding that we're getting a lot of inroads with candidates who are very new and inexperienced. They tend to listen more, and so we're able to have a better impact on them. Our idea is to use our inroads with candidates now that we made through the recall debates, and now while we're making the list of the 10 platform parts. So while the group's making the list of 10 items that are going to form the platform, Fuji and I and others are working in the background to connect to these candidates so that when we do have the whole thing launched, we're actually in contact with candidates to run. So Robert, when you're talking about how long will it take, there's a lot of things that we're doing concurrently and may speed it up dramatically. I don't want to say and promise for sure, but we're not waiting for the next stages. So we're working to make inroads to other parties now, the Green Party and the Libertarians and some of the Republicans, and we're working to reach out to candidates now, Republicans, Green Party, Bernie Sanders people, conservatives, super lefty liberals, and we're developing our platform at the same time. So I predict a lot of things are going to kind of just coalesce. And I think over the next 3 weeks, we're going to see a lot of this just kind of pop into place. No, not perfectly, but I think so. And again, if you want to get involved, get involved. We are making the political party. Robert and Jason and John and Lewis, Marinelli, and Quatamak all agreed to be part. You can be part too. We're meeting Tuesdays at 7, at least for now. Any other questions? Let's go to Jason. 2-minute breakdown of what do you think this political party is and where it's going and what we're trying to do. Jason Wright, please, sir.
Yeah. So basically, in my view, this committee is all about looking into the formation of a political party that could viably represent the majority of California. And California is very large in physical size, land mass, but also in population. Nearly 40 million people. The more people there are involved, the harder it is to truly encompass everyone. That being said, we are all about inclusion and, honesty, fairness, equality. So we're striving for it. And so we're looking into the viability of this, and should we find that, after the testing, should we find that there is demand for this, then the plan or the hope would be to run any and all electable positions that have candidates wishing to. So basically, I remember you referenced the dog catcher, SNP dog catcher story, something like that. Basically, any candidate who wants to run for any electable position of any sort, the smallest all the way to the highest, which would be California's commander-in-chief, currently Gavin Newsom. Any position, if they are looking for a sponsorship or an endorsement from us, we could potentially have one to give, but we also we also would not hold back from endorsing someone just because the position is too small, I guess you could say.
True. We're not doing that. What Jason's getting at is, I hope everyone can see this. It's the Scottish National Party. So right here, despite this breakthrough, the 1970 general election was to prove a disappointment for the party despite an increase in vote share. So they're talking about how they lost a vote in 1970 and they were upset, but they got more of a vote share. They did win the capture of the Western Isles. Let's take a look at that. See this way out here part? Here's Scotland, right? And here's their Alaska. And then 1970, they had a national candidate and they lost. They got beat pretty bad, but they won this. And then 1974, they ran it's Scotland's oil. And they were the only people at that time saying that the oil here in the North Oil is not British, it's Scottish. And they were called crazy and stupid and politically unsophisticated for saying that. Now everyone says it. First party to say something bold that was true, ridiculed for a long time. Now everyone says it, and that was their claim to fame. Hint, hint. Then we go to the 1977 district elections. That's what, like a county commission. Basically, it's not statewide. It's like down to the individual voting districts. And they won East Kilbride, which is this tiny county there. You can see one little tiny county. And then they won Falkirk, again, a tiny little county. So now the Scottish National Party runs all of Scotland. So I find the story instructive. They got pounded on and lost, but they won one little fall-off county. And then in the next election, they won two little fall counties. And then 30 years later, they ran the whole thing. See the pattern? And the idea was that they realized once they took over they won dog catcher in some little county. And everybody's like, oh, that's so silly. But they won. So what they did is they put all their money in that county for every race. And then they won all of the positions in this little boutique county. What they did was because the counties are locked in at the government level, they now had representation in the Scotland government. So because they won all the offices, they had to have reps in the official government now because the law said so. And so for the first time, the Scottish government was having secessionists in the government. It was from this tiny little county, and they started off winning insignificant elections and then won the whole county based upon that insignificant election. Once they had that, they slept and is starting to take over other counties, and then they took over all of Scotland. That's a proven model. Jason?
Yeah, that's it exactly.
So let me put that in there. Becoming a notable force. Here you go for everybody on StreamYard. There you go. Go to Wikipedia, Scottish National Party, becoming a notable force. I'll also put this in private chat. I'm also going to put this in comments because I think it's important. So there you go. Everybody knows the story. Okay. Any other comments on? Oh, there's Fuji. Fuji, any last comments on the political party and the formation of the political party?
I want everybody to consider is to reach out to all potential candidates, from school board, water district, to mayors, state assembly. Tomorrow I will be meeting with a young man who's running for state assembly. He's very interested because he's Puerto Rican. He understands how it may not be in the best interest for Puerto Rico to become a state. He may understand maybe there are challenges to what providence is it that I'm meeting somebody like that tomorrow. We were just talking about that in the past few weeks. Interesting. And Marcus is talking to other people. I'm talking to so forth. And it would show that there's such a universal passion for California to be, what California is, not the status quo. Our party is not the status quo. All bad, all good. No, none of that. Once again, we have to reach out to all candidates, potential, and listen to their ideas. And I will say the young voters and the Latino vote will play a crucial role in forming this political party. Because I'm sure we could easily get 73,000 signatures in Los Angeles County alone. And this is why I want to do these campuses, go to college campuses, have these voter registration forms at the location and say, hey, everybody, if anybody's interested in belonging to a different party, here's your chance. You're registered as a Democrat, you're registered as a Republican, Libertarian, Green Party. That's great. But here's what I'm saying. Take a leap of faith and be different. Don't be a follower. And being Californian is about being different. Um, Now's the time. We could offer that to these college students just getting back to college. They saw what happened with the COVID lockdowns. They're really looking for change, and they don't have any confidence in Republican or Democrat. And now is the time to do it. Here we're going to go tomorrow to really preach our message of a political party. So while we're just getting started, this is a work in progress. Let's try to keep these ideas flowing, which is essential. And tomorrow, in about 2 days, I will be sending Marcus and all of you, once I get your email, some sample logos for you to consider. And I would love to have your feedback. Does it look too aggressive? Does it look too friendly? Is it out of place? Is it too out of touch with the California symbolism? All this has to take into consideration because logos will play a crucial role in marketing, as everybody knows. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, Robert and Jason, last minute comments. Robert Stark, then Jason, last minute comments, and then we'll move on to another thingy. Okay, then we're going to go to the next section. I'm going to close this section on the political party. Appreciate everybody being here. Again, Tuesdays at 7, temporarily. Anybody can join. We want to have 10 points that people from different political ideologies can support and different sovereignty levels. And this was Fuji's original idea. He's come on, he's the director, very well connected to many political candidates, many political parties. The guy's constantly meeting in the LA area with different candidates. And he's an expert at politics, and he has nothing but my full confidence that this will be another party. I do want to point out, though, that like Mike pointed out, this is the non-party, right? So we're not saying, hey, you got to join our party and you can't be part of yours. That's not going to happen. Be a Republican and join our party. Be a Democrat, be a Green Party, be a Bernie Sanders party, remember, and join us. So we're more like, I think there's a group called the Justice Democrats, or the Squad by AOC, where they're kind of a party, but they're also open to many people who may or may not be Democrats. So you don't necessarily have to be a Dem to be part of that group. Something like that, just so people get the conceptual idea. I'm not endorsing the policies of that. And I did say, we're not going to make another super lefty party, okay? I understand California's progressive. Obviously, there's going to be a commitment to diversity and safe places and acceptance of LGBTQ. And I don't like communism, but people who love communism thoughts, and hippies, and people who don't want to bathe, and diversity and multiple religions. So, California values are going to be in there. Of course, they're going to be in there. And of course, we're not going to have tolerance for anybody pushing back on them. That being said, we've seen other people try to launch a new party by going, we'll be more progressive than everybody. And they go to some extreme place that you just can't get mainstream people to follow along with. And we're not doing that. I've seen the Bernie Sanders people try to out-left the Dems. I've seen the Bernie Sanders party try to out-left Bernie Sanders. I've seen Occupy Wall Street try to out-left them. I've seen BLM try to out-left people. It's a non-zero sum game. It's the quickest way to be the most radical and burn all your bridges. And we're about making bridges, not burning them. All right. That's it for the political party. I'm going to go to another segment here. So I do want to cover Let me turn this off. So recently, Louis Marinelli was announced as president. I'm the executive director. I still run everything. Nothing's changed. I still have all the same powers. We just changed some titles so that we would appear to be more professional because we're getting a lot of attention with the recall election and the candidates. So does anybody have any questions? Or do you, the public watching on YouTube, have any questions? You can comment, ask. I will answer anything you want to say. We've always said the public can come to our show and the public can ask comments and we will address them. So anybody in the public want to ask anything about this in any way, I will address it. I have to give room for this. I'm sorry. I know it's a little procedural, but you have to make sure so nobody can go, you weren't willing to answer questions and you hid. And you're like, no, here I am. If you got a point, say it on YouTube. I'll answer it. If anybody here in the group, every 43 people were invited to this meeting, you want to call me out, ask questions. I'm seeing a whole lot of
question. Do you have any plans to be doing it on location? Like you did it once on location in El Segundo, and I was wondering if we could find a way to start doing that over El Segundo, but in other places that come up, industry of city, West LA, Ventura, and San Diego. Maybe, you know, if we could start doing more on location Q&As and actually have this, I think that would be interesting. I would love to, for example, I was there in a place called Ocean Beach in San Diego, and there was some, like a farmer's market kind of, different vendors there, and that was fine, selling, promoting different products. And I would love to see more in-person events like that, even if it's at a flea market. What the heck? You know, it doesn't have to be the Comic-Con. It doesn't have to be as prestigious as that. It could be a flea market. It could be at the farmer's market down your local street. I would love to see that. And in that tent, of course, the tent at the sun, to have that keynote, and on the table.
Sorry, Fuji, we lost you again. It's distorted.
Some of these farmer market actually encourage from that if we could have an event, even if it's small, even if it's us two people talking, debating about it, and there's the table with the informational materials on it, I think that would be great. And I do believe in, you know, just being there live. People will, yeah, what the heck is that about? Let me go listen to these two guys debating something. I just think it'll make a difference if we get that calendar up and let people know 2 weeks from now, Fuji are going to be at the El Segundo location in front of 2 months from now, we're going to be at Santa Monica location and they're filming for like 20 minutes. You know, of course, we have to get the permit, of course, from the city. So whenever there's a farmer's market, maybe we can come out participate if they let us, if we inquire. Maybe they like it, maybe they won't. But, you know, I think it's worth a try, you know. So I think every little bit helps. I would just love to think about that, getting these tents up and getting to farmer markets and just having a little space just so we could talk to people live. Because I love what we're doing now with the live video feed. Although some older generation may want to have that in-person content.
Totally agree. We should be doing live events with the public. And we used to do that, right? Mm-hmm. Before coronavirus, we used to do that. Yeah. And then coronavirus like shut everything down. And part of the issue has been, you know, people are scared. So we're like, hey, let's come out and meet. And they're like, oh, but the Delta variant. So that's part of the way. However, let's totally do this. I'll make you a deal. If you can get 5 people, just 5, besides you and me, not you and me, 5 humans other than you and me, I'll set up a meeting anytime. I'm going to be in LA this whole week. I'll be in LA the last week of this month also. I'll send you those dates, or I already have, or I'll get them to you. But if one of the weeks that I'm in LA, you can get 5 humans anywhere in Los Angeles to meet, and we're going to talk about this stuff, we'll have a meeting there at whatever time and date that you can get those 5 people besides you and me to meet. I'll come down. My only request is I want to film it. So I don't want to have a meeting and have no proof. So if it's a public meeting, I want photos and video. And then you got yourself a deal. We'll do this. No problem. If you get 5 people, you say the day, time, location, we'll make it happen.
Great.
Okay. Yeah. All right. All right. Okay. So let's go to this little piece of news. Second here. Oops. 1 second. Okay. Let me show this. Sorry. Share screen. Share screen. Window. Can everyone see this article, Connecting California, a Realistic Calexit Scenario?
Yeah.
Okay. So this came out recently. It's by Joe Matthews. Joe Matthews is the very famous public policy reporter. He started Zocalo Public Square. He did write extensively in 2020 about Calexit. He also talked about the Gwyneth Paltrow commercial on the TV show The Candidate, leading to Calexit. He's also held the first conference with Zocalo Public Square about having discussion in 2010 if California should be an independent nation. So very friendly with the topic, I will say, and a well-respected policy reporter. This is out now, so let me post this up in the comments in a second. But I'm just going to read it. It was gun violence that finally drove California to secede from the United States. A series of mass shootings culminated in a savage attack on a Sacramento area school that killed 35 kids and 2 cops. The shooters used rifles, pistols, and large capacity magazines, weapons that had been illegal in California until the U.S. Supreme Court threw out the state's gun control laws. Californians raged that the conservative justices had effectively murdered their children. That anger spiraled into a cold civil war, with Californians' elected leaders openly defying federal officials and laws by outlawing most gun laws. An authoritarian Republican president retaliated with an economic blockade of the state. After right-wing militias invaded the state and massacred California Highway Patrol officers, the governor declared her intention to depart from the union, subject to the result of a referendum by voters. That's Yes California right there. We were the one that put that forward. The path to California nationhood is fiction, at least for now, but this account, invented by the writer David French in his 2020 book, Divided We Fall, 2020 book. David French is also a respected conservative in the Midwest, I think Tennessee. American secession threat and how to restore our union might be the most realistic scenario for Calexit I've encountered. The scenario packs a special power because French is a careful, rigorous thinker who desperately wants the United States to remain united. A lawyer, military veteran, and champion of socially conservative causes, he is also loyal to the American tradition of pluralism. He broke early and decisively from allies to oppose President Trump and harsh partisanship. His book is a fair-minded examination of how Americans across not just the political spectrum, but also the nation's geography, have started to loathe each other. French argues that this negative polarization is so extreme that the country may well split apart. To demonstrate how real the threat is, he offers all two possible scenarios: a Texas departure rooted in abortion politics and a gun rights clash in California. I bet where the federal government rules you can't do this or goes against their opposite policies, and then they say they want to secede because these issues are so important to them. That's my adding commentary. That was not Joe Matthews. The Calexit scenario is based upon Californians' fears of minority illegal rule because of problems with the Senate, Electoral College, and Supreme Court. That is something we have been talking about for a year or two. I think we were the first people to point out that 35 states are going to be very white, rural, conservative, lacking minorities and diversity, and old, and Fox News loving, and they will now control all the Senate, who gets to be president, who gets to be on the Supreme Court, and therefore the presidency, the judiciary, and the congressional, because you can't pass laws if the Senate doesn't approve it. So we're basically locked in. Matthews isn't the only person who said that. USC professor Jonathan Taplin said the exact same thing, and we've been saying it for a while. In French's Calexit scenario, Republicans eliminate the Senate filibuster to give their president extraordinary powers to subdue California. The Supreme Court is stacked with conservatives because Republicans had blocked previous appointments by Democratic presidents. Californians see the president was illegitimate because he lost the popular vote in an election marked by voter suppression. When California's governor declares her independence referendum, she asked the president to respect the results of the vote. The Republican commander-in-chief, recognizing that California's departure will ensure a conservative-dominated America, seeks to encourage Californians to leave the union. That's something Yes California has been talking about for years, and we have had the most conferences and the most interactions with conservatives in the Midwest who said, yes, that's a correct interpretation of them. He pursues a conservative that is, a spelling error, that is anathema to California and indicates that if California votes to remain in the union, the state will be put under military rule. So Californians vote overwhelmingly to leave the union. Soon Oregon and Washington join them. French thinks Americans can prevent such a split of their country by embracing tolerance and pluralism. He defends the rights of communities and associations to govern themselves according to their values and their beliefs, as long as they don't violate the fundamental rights of their dissenting members. Despite his conservative views, he argues in service of national unity for letting progressive in states like California go their own way. A military veteran argues in the sense of national unity, because things are so bad and divisive, to let California go its own way. As an example, he suggests the federal government allow the Golden State to enact its own single-payer healthcare system. If Californians, this is a form of quasi-secession that's not full secession. So this could go into the sovereign choice that Fuji's talking about. Hey, I didn't say secession. I just said ignore federal law and do our own thing on healthcare. Here's a policy writer pointing to another policy writer saying this is a realistic proposal. And yes, California is now launching a political party where we're actually going to try to suggest that it's an option to potential people. So a lot of alignment here at a conceptual level and philosophically. If Americans don't rediscover pluralism, the results will be bad, not just for the country, but for the world. French argues with the U.S. distracted by its own breakup, French suggests China could seize Taiwan, Russia could reclaim Western Europe, and other secessionist conflicts could escalate. That's a sobering analysis, but by this Californian's lights, the final results of French's Calexit scenario don't sound so bad. New England creates its own democratic nation, millions of Americans relocate to places better aligned with their politics, and Californians seem happier. So this is This Week by Joe Matthews, major policy reporter. No one yelled at him. No one screamed at him. No one said you're crazy. And he's talking about how conservatives in America are supportive of this idea. And he uses our talking points. We were the ones that started referendum of the voters. That's us. He also mentioned Yes California, so he definitely knows about us. David French talked about Calexit, so that's about the Yes California movement. And this argument here, minority rule overrunning the Senate Electoral College and Supreme Court, we said that first. So let me post this article up for everybody. But we always like to point out, we're not the only ones saying this. Like, again, why is it that Fuji and I, who've never met each other, were both thinking about California as an independent nation? And how come we were able to go to El Segundo and tour a museum dedicated to California being an independent nation by another guy, Mr. Sternberg, who neither Fuji nor I have met? And now here's Joe Matthews, who does not talk to Cole Sternberg, does not talk to me, does not talk to Fuji Shioura, and is also saying the same thing. I know people like to think that we're crazy, But I think that's just intellectually sloppy. I think if you look, it's there, folks. So I'm going to post this in comments. Here's the article. Post this in private chat. Here's the article. We're not the only ones saying this. Why is Cole Sternberg, who has a museum, saying this? Why was Fuji open to this for years? He's well connected. Why are we saying it? Why is Joe Matthews saying it? Biden's been president for 6 months, and he's still saying, well, look, the Republicans have, with this 35 states coalition, dominance in passing all laws or blocking all laws, blocking all Supreme Court justices, and determining who gets to be the president. So that problem is not gone, and it is not fixed. Now, maybe if the Senate gets rid of the filibuster, they might be able to fix that, the Democrats. However, there's a thing called midterm elections, which are 1 year away. So let's say the Democrats go, you know what, we're getting rid of the filibuster. We're going to do whatever the hell we want, and it's gone. Okay, they're most likely going to lose midterms, and the Republicans are going to regain the Senate and even more House seats in midterms. So the Democrats just said, we're in control. We're going to pass the laws we want, getting rid of the filibuster. And then a year later, the Republicans are now in charge and can pass the laws they want because the filibuster is gone. So we're going to go from it's our way to a year later, that's ripped down and shred, and the country goes in the exact opposite direction. I don't endorse this, but that's the conditions that are ripe for a civil war. Everybody gets their thing. It's hardcore one way. Everybody who didn't like that is told tough. It's mowed over them. And then a year later, not long after, the other side does the exact same thing. People are going to be really, really mad and upset. And when they are, in California, Calexit grows. Fact. Donald Trump got elected, we grew. Kavanaugh, the Senate didn't even listen to the information on Kavanaugh and just put him in. We grew because people felt, well, that's the Senate not working. Amy Coney Barrett got put in as the Supreme Court justice. They thought their rights with abortion and other things were going to be taken away. We grew. So anytime the federal government doesn't deliver and people are like, this is bad, this is going to go against California values, people run to Calexit, and we grow in members and media coverage. And everything is indicating that America's not coming together. Biden is doing horribly. Harris is doing horribly. The Democratic House is doing horribly. They did not extend the eviction moratorium. That was up to Nancy Pelosi in the House to do, and they absolutely didn't do it. Now, I know Biden's saying he's jumping in, but that's illegal and unconstitutional. The House was supposed to do it, and the House totally let it drop. Harris is going down in flames. Biden has dropped his popularity. And there are many policies, especially when we look at Latinos and the border wall and refugees, where Biden is completely aligned with Trump. So when midterms come around, there's going to be a lot of liberals saying, wow, Biden, you're really close to Trump, and Kamala's horrible. And Biden, you could not bring unity when you said you could. And you were not that different from Trump when you said you were. And also, I don't like Trump, but it only helps his base when the media comes out and goes, oh, you know how we said Trump did X? Turns out that was a total lie, and it's Y. That only motivates his base. So Trump was saying there's a border emergency. Now the Democrats are saying. Trump was saying the border wall is difficult to manage. Now Biden can't manage the wall. Trump was saying you need to watch out for the terrorists coming in. Now Biden keeps some of the refugee camps. Trump was saying you got to allow fracking. Now Biden allows fracking. Trump was saying you should be friendly to Russia. Now Biden's friendly with Russia, regardless of what he's saying. Trump was saying the coronavirus probably came from China. Now we're saying it came from China. So I don't like Trump, but when the media says everything he says is bad and wrong and stupid and backwards, and then after he's out of office, they start going, well, you know, okay, this one thing he was right, and 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 this thing here, and that thing, and this thing, and that. It destroys their whole narrative. And it adds to the Republican narrative that it's all fake media. Now, I don't believe that. But if you're a conservative and you were told these are all lies, and then here's the liberal media coming back going, well, actually, they weren't lies. At least some of them. Trump was right. He's a god. They were all fake news. We were misled. Let's vote Republicans back into office and let's have Trump as president again. I don't want that, but that's where things are lining up. Biden has not delivered unity. America's not coming together. The coronavirus pandemic is not working out well. We're going into a recession. He's far too similar to Trump on too many policies for as far as liberals are concerned. Kamala Harris, the Californian, is going down in flames. And Nancy Pelosi, the Californian, did not help us. We did not get stimulus checks in December. People went homeless. She did that to win an election, and she admitted that she used Californians as pawns and did not get us the financial help we needed when people went poor and homeless. And then here's the moratorium. She could not stop that. So it's a lot of midterms are going to come up, and it's like, oh, vote on a Californian to be in the federal government. To do what? Nothing that helps? Or to do horribly at managing issues that are important to Californians, like refugee caps in the border? So it's all failure of Californians at the federal level. It's all failure of America getting fixed. It's all failure of unity happening. And it's all failure of this message that Donald Trump was an anathema and not what America really is when Biden backs up many of his policies. So everything is in line for Calexit to have a gigantic boost. Republicans will win midterms. Californians are going to be shocked and angry. They're going to run to Calexit, and we're going to tell them, we told you Biden is way too close to Trump. Told you this is the real America. Now are you ready to listen? So we expect massive growth with midterms. And that's only a year away, and we're getting our house in order. We're forming a political party. We're bringing on other candidates. We're making inroads to other people. We're getting in the media. We're rearranging our house to be more professional. Things will come back to us in about a year. We've managed to keep our 160,000 people. I expect we're going to double in size. People thought that Trump was a fluke. And that's what the media was able to get people to believe. When Calexit got big in 2017, the thing that they used to keep us from growing too big was called the resist movement. And there were literally articles printed in California that said, we can just resist Trump. We don't have to secede. So 2017, when Calexit was at its height, there were many articles saying, you don't need to leave. We'll fix America. Trump's a fluke. He was put in place by Russians. They rigged the vote. 25% of America likes this guy. Not even half. It's a fluke. Foreigners put him into power. Total fluke, aberration, not the real America. You know, even Obama is going on TV going, this isn't America. And California is going, yeah, this isn't the real America. That's all garbage. And now the lie has been revealed. Trump did win the 2016 election. And a majority of America outside of California did vote for him. The Russians did not rig the election. They did not rig votes. And he damn near won the popular vote outside of California. That's a fact. We know that now. Nobody was saying that in 2017, 2018, 2019. They were still like, Russia rigged it. We had to wait 4 years before people were able to go, well, I guess basically half of America did pick Trump, the guy who said all Mexicans are rapists and it's okay to rape women. That's America. And then I guess in 2020, Trump basically almost did win again. And Biden only won half the country by 2%. We predicted Trump was going to win. Biden won by 2%. We also said Biden wasn't going to bring unity. It's 5 to 6 months in. There's not unity. It's not coming back together. Biden's popularity has dropped because he can't bring unity. America's not coming out of the pandemic like he promised, and America's not going to not go into recession like he promised. So all his promises are failing. Everybody's seeing it. They're massively disappointed. That's why Harris is doing horrible and Biden is doing horrible in the polls. They're going to be massively upset when the Republicans punch the Democrats in the gut in midterms. And whenever Californians see America vote in a way that's totally opposite from what they think is appropriate, they immediately run to secede. So no unity, Biden doing horrible, only things are going to get worse. And that infrastructure bill, depending on if that gets passed or if it includes the progressive options in that, it's only going to add on to that. Things are looking good for Calexit midterm. We're expecting a massive growth stage. So building up our political party to be ready to launch at that time, that's a nexus. Fuji, any comments? Or do Jason?
As you stated, we have a Republican problem. We have a Democrat problem. It takes two to tango. Are the Republicans to blame? Democrats to blame? Let's keep it real and honest. It obviously takes both parties to create this roadblock progress. And that's okay because we can't find a Republican solution. We cannot find or seek a Democrat solution. We need a one California solution. Thank you.
Nice. Yeah. Um,
Yeah, and I would concur. I like to say Republicans and Republicrats because though they campaign as the opposite of one another and thus polarize the nation and the voters, though they campaign as opposites, when it comes down to when they're in office and legislative change or, legislative anything, what we see is that really they end up not being so different from one another after all. Sure, one's red, one's blue, one's orange, one's very, very like silvery white. But what's the difference really, policy-wise? I know what they said on the campaign trail, but now that we've seen, I've recently seen things from prominent Democrats saying, okay, Biden's actually had a serious amount of time, and it's the Biden-Harris administration. It's not all on Biden, it's not all on Harris, it's all on both of them and their whole team that they put together. And what's falling on them? Well, all of this inaction on certain key issues that they had promised us action on, all sorts of, taking one stance and then they going, I'll use the recognition of the Armenian genocide in, the early 1900s as an example. Great, they recognize it, and then immediately turn around and make an arms deal with the country that is currently at war with them. Yeah, that's, I just got to say, typical America.
Like I tell voters, Jason and Robert and everybody else there, RNC rhymes with D. DNC rhymes with RNC. One California doesn't rhyme. We're not going to jive. We're different. RNC, Republican National Committee, and the DNC, Democrat National Committee. DNC and RNC, they rhyme together. Why is that? I'll tell you what doesn't rhyme is one California. We have to give voters.
Well, and that's one reason I love the Viva Todos Californios saying, is because, really, like,
It doesn't rhyme.
California, all of Californians, all as one, Si se puede, but only together.
Orale.
We can't do it if we're all separated and, at each other's throats.
Yep. California first.
That's right. Nice. Okay, let me show you guys this. We also, so besides Joe Matthews talking about Calexit this week based upon problems that we predicted first and that are not getting fixed and that are going to be massively exemplified by the midterms. Republicans going to win the midterms. They're not going to replace the Supreme Court conservative justices, and it's going to set Trump up to win the presidency. So we're going to see a lot of people coming to Calexit because they're disappointed. We also got some international news. I want to show that real quick. So yes, California has connections with about 500 reporters around the world because of our contacts in 2017. This is the Scottish national newspaper. We sent out our press release announcing that Lewis was going to be president. I would retain all my powers and position as the top leader, but just changed the title to being director. And they picked it up. So Marcus Ruiz-Evans, CEO, co-founder, yes, of the party, has made progress in the state's recall election campaign. We're not seeking to remove Gavin Newsom. That's incorrect. Over his alleged mishandling, that's also incorrect. Although the party no longer has a candidate in the running, he said they successfully managed to get secession mentioned in the major policy journals, reintroducing the concept that people are interested in it. We were able to get Louis Marinelli, the secession candidate, listed twice in Cal Matters, the top policy journal here, meaning that people in Sacramento and all political leaders saw an article where they go, there's still a secession movement, and there's still people interested in secession. And they were mentioned that twice, getting it back in the news. Ruiz-Evans said no one, not the other candidates and not the Cal Matters policy writers, see right there mentioned that this movement was a Russian operation, so we're glad to get past that garbage. We made new connections with political candidates, recognition in the media and California news publications like California Globe, and they had continued to demonstrate professional growth and outreach. So we were able to get our talking points covered by the international news just about exactly how we wanted them. You all have the link to that article. It's really great that when you have the news validate what you're saying. So if you say it, that's okay. But when you have a published news article saying it, that's really big. And we announced to 160,000 people that we were doing the organizational change because we did so well with the debates and made so many contacts and had raised our profile and gotten editorials in newspapers and reached out to reporters and had massive outreach on the debates that we were making the shift, and we got a newspaper to cover it. So excellent international coverage for Yes California Calexit. At the same time, Calexit is still being talked about by serious policy writers. We are not out of the woods. And the idea that was holding back growth against Calexit, that America get fixed, is going down in flames. So everybody said, let's bet on Biden, and things go back to normal. It ain't working. And when America falls, people pursue this. We're only months away. Okay, we have a few minutes left. Any comments by anybody? Fuji, do you have any comments? And then let's go around the table.
I want to make a comment that I think we're slowly, gradually making consistent progress. And it's a lot of hard work creating a new political party. There will be setbacks, roadblocks, but I'm confident with Mike, Robert, Jason, and you, Marcus, together and many others, that it is really, really possible, and it will come to fruition in all good time. And now more than ever, we need to give voters a viable choice. And while other places exist, other political parties, only us are offering a sovereign choice. And that's where we really will make headway with all voters. There's so many voters, left, right, liberal, conservative, and so forth. And so I'm looking forward to building this coalition of like-minded Californians to move California forward in the direction of California. Thank you.
Any other comments? Robert Stark and then Jason Wright.
I don't have anything new, but I'll work on some of the platform policies and bring it to the next meeting.
Yeah, this Tuesday at 7, everybody's invited. And please, please send platform ideas to Fuji, the director of the Yes California Political Party Exploration Committee. By the way, we're not agreed on a name yet. It could be anything. It's just going to be tied to us. And please come out on Tuesday, and I'll make sure you're all informed of that in the notes. Every Tuesday, we want to have the top 10 platforms out in 3 weeks, at least a draft. And we are at the brainstorm stage, so all ideas are good. Suggest anything you want. Fuji's an awesome guy. He will not bite you unless you cover your arm in honey, in which case you asked for it, okay? That's on you. Don't call me if Fuji bit you. If you coated your arm in honey, I'll take Fuji's side. Short of putting honey or sweet barbecue sauce, on you, Fuji doesn't bite. He's a very nice, approachable guy who likes, he's like me. He's a junkie, all right? I don't know if you realize this. This is the junkie show. We're all addicts who are never going to quit. The only thing is our drug of choice is politics, so it doesn't affect our biological mechanisms too much. But you do get a head rush. You're going to tell yourself you can quit anytime, and you really can't. And you'll sacrifice things that maybe you shouldn't to feed your addiction. So I say it jokingly, but only half joke. It is a form. You can get wrapped up in this stuff, and it can take over your life if you don't let it, which is why I'm constantly pounding on you guys. Life comes first. Life balance. Life has to come first, or this thing will eat you alive. Let's go. Robert Stark, any comments? Or Jason Wright, any comments?
Yeah, no, I'm totally on board with this whole project, and you know, I'm helping out candidate Fimbres, who will be running for state insurance commissioner coming up in the next election cycle, and helping out with candidate Kapelovitz running in the recall, helping with trying to do the candidate outreach or getting more candidates involved in debate. Also working on some other side projects, writing some, you know, fantasy adventure novel stuff. Still party elite. But yeah, so, you know, I'm dedicated to it. I will continue to put in as much time as is needed.
Thank you, Jason.
Again, any political candidate, I got to totally back up Fuji. If they're running for dog catcher, assembly, whatever, we at least want to make inroads. If we're going to launch this party and it's about reaching out to everybody, we got to show up with liberals and conservatives. So, you know, anybody who's running for anything, we want to talk to them. We want to be in coordination with them. We're not going to set them up. And our plan, our secret master plan, is to come up with 10 things that they can all agree to. And then they just get all the support in the world of love.
I will say this. I think the Nixon Library is going to do another debate 23rd of August or the 24th. And I think if we could do another mirror debate and let them know, okay, we're doing a second debate at the Nixon Library, you're invited. Let's do a mirror debate like we did last time.
Rhonda, yes, I love that idea. By the way, I'm going to pick on Fuji. If you want to do stuff and you believe California is a nation, this is the place for you. Like, Fuji joined, yes, and we immediately started doing things, right? Like, immediately. And I know we've made mistakes, and maybe there's something we said we didn't like, but if you actually believe that California should be more independent and you want to get stuff accomplished, not just talk, this is the place for you. Fuji got on board. We launched that committee. We started having meetings. He also was like, hey, here's this great opportunity for a debate. We threw it together in hours, and it was wonderful. And I think we got 300-400 views out of that. And we had different candidates we'd never even contacted. That was all Fuji. But that was also Fuji working with the network and us operating like we had been. Before Fuji got here, we'd had a year of practice. And basically it was, we get stuff done, and that's what we're here for. We'll talk, we'll plan. Of course, we do our research. I mean, all of you have heard me say prep is 80%. Have your research, have your background, know what the hell you're talking about before you talk, of course. But there's a point where you stop and you move. And, you know, Fuji came on board and we did that debate already, which did well. Let me see if I can pull that up. And we're already working on another project and we're already making inroads. So if you want to get stuff done and make moves for California being independent to whatever degree you're comfortable with, this is the place for you. We had been saying full-on secession. Fuji came in and he goes, you know, I kind of disagree with that. What about territory stats for Puerto Rico? And we said, really all we're saying is it's better if California runs things on its own. It's like, okay, well, I see it differently than you guys. Great. Let's see what happens with that. We're about having the conversation. We've taken certain stances, but we're about bringing people in, having the conversation. And our real goal is, if I had to say puppy dog tails 15 times fast and spin around in a circle 30 times, but that got 1/3 of California talking about it, that'd be all I'm just doing. It's about getting the conversation going, making people talk, keeping it relevant. Fuji's helping out with that. If you have ideas, if you want to do that, this is the place for you. I'll leave it there. Fuji, am I saying something wrong? I mean, did we say, hey, let's talk a bunch and have a bunch of meetings before we do anything? Or did we kind of stop, skipping and hopping along the moment you jumped on board?
I think it's all providential. It's providence. It's coming together to fruition. More and more Californians see it as the natural progression of what we are Californians. Being a Californian, one California, many ideas, many passions, many desires, but all together we want to have peace and prosperity as a single family, and that is something to aspire to. Yes, California, I think, the political party to bring unity, tolerance, and inclusion like never before in political modern history.
That was awesome. Here is the debate that was because of Fuji. So Fuji set this up. I hope you all can see that. Leo Zaki, we had not been in contact with. We had emailed, couldn't get anywhere. Joel Simon, we had been in contact with, couldn't get anywhere. So that was 2 new contacts that came because Fuji realized that there was a Republican debate, people were excluded, and they were mad. And so that was a political opportunity. So when he realized that, he contacted me. I got Yes California organized, and we launched. And we were able to get new people who hadn't been in contact with us to show up to a debate, expanding our reach. We have 268 views on that, and it was a pretty damn good debate. And we threw that together. I want to point out, though, if I may, here's our larger debate that we had with Tom Elias, who hosted the first recall election, and the top Republican, Solidarity, Democrat, and Green Party candidate, and the reporter who covers the recall officially and started the recall. And we're up to just shy of 2,000 views. So that is definitively the most watched debate of the recall. At least that we can tell.
According to the Nixon Library, theirs was the first government recall debate.
Yeah, right.
And also, I have a question for you, Marcus. Can you name one major news network or channel or newspaper that had the California candidates of a woman, an African, a Latino, another person, all at one time?
No, Fuji, I can't.
Just saying, that's not California. California is a mix of everything. And that's what it represents. We had an African man, we had a woman candidate, we had a Latino, we had a white person. That's what makes California great. It's multicultural, multilingual, and that's how it should be. Unfortunately, the Nixon Library, well, I think it was okay if this was 1971. I think all they were missing was sideburns and bell bottoms. 1971.
Yeah.
That was then. I would like to think 2021, not 1971, which was normal. Normal. All women. Women came along. The women wasn't, all of a sudden. They had to fight hard. And so I'm so happy and privileged that our program had a woman candidate running for governor. We had so many mixed races. That's what it's all about, as it should be.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. So our debate did very well. It's going to break probably 2,000 views. That's awesome. it's one of the most watched debates, and it's one of the most professional with the most views of the real candidates there. I think 20 people were featured. There was some other conservative groups that had debates. Our debate was videotaped and posted on YouTube and has a lot of views, better than anybody else. Now, maybe the Nixon Library thing got more views because it was off a TV show, Fox 11. However, if you looked at the Nixon Library, Mr. Director Shioura is right. Like, it was all old white guys, basically. And then Kevin Kiley. So rich, older, white, male, conservative is about 7% of the population of California. Rich, male, Caucasian, conservative is about 7%. You start acting older, you're getting down to like 5%. So other than Kylie, it was almost older, everybody. And, 5 to 7% does not reflect 93% of the population. And all of our debates do.
There is something I would like to say. Can you name any news network or channel or newspaper or radio program that at the same time had the two youngest candidates running for California governor? One was 30, one was 20. John Drake is 20. Mr. Zaki is 30, I believe.
That's what we're talking about.
We also have the two youngest candidates, as far as I know, in America running for governor. A 30-year-old, Zaki, and the 20-year-old, John R.
Yeah. So we're making big inroads, a lot of inroads. We've had a lot of respect for Yes California. And a lot of people were like, are you guys secessionists? We're like, yeah, but we're not promoting that in the debate. And they're like, really? And I go, watch all the debates and show me where we push that on you. There's 12 of them filmed. Show me where we did that. And they're not doing it. So we have a great reputation boost. And so you got to understand, we've made contact with Green Party, Democrat, Republican, Patriot, even though I'm not so big on that, Solidarity, many other people, a fourth of the candidates, and many people, and they all respected us, and they all think Yes California does a good job, and they're all talking about us. And we also got into California Globe newspaper. So we're making a lot of inroads. And the Green Party, we're having regular meetings with high-ranking Green Party officials, and we wrote editorials for one of the top conservative magazines in California. So we're making inroads with everybody, and we got the Scottish National newspaper to cover that we're making these inroads. So we're making inroads. Everybody knows it. We've reached out to a fourth of the candidates. We're covering multiple political parties, and we're getting international coverage of that. We're moving up. Moving on up. And I'd invite you to join with us. Mm-hmm. If you believe California should act more like a nation, maybe you're not comfortable with secession, maybe you're against that, but you think something special is going on here and we need to do more of our own thing, this is the place for you. If you like results, if you like things getting done, if you believe that in your activism, you should have results and be able to show accomplishments for your work, this is the place for you. It's not just me. I'm just a spokesperson. Now, I run things, but I run things based upon the way this group has formed. And the way that we act has come from years of being at it. We're very professional, but that's not the way that we started. Look at our photos in February 2014. It was pretty bad. But over time, we made mistakes, we learned, and we always kept trying to get better. You can talk to Jason, Lewis, Mike, Jeff, anybody. We always are like, okay, that was pretty good, but what can we do better? And if we screwed up, we do this thing where we admitted we screwed up. We blew it on that one. Let's not sugarcoat it. We're not trying to blame anybody, but let's just admit big failure on that and not do that again, or study it and how do we do it wrong. A lot of people are not willing to do that. They're not willing to constantly look to get better, look to be more professional, listen to all the voices. They want to just hear, hey, that was great and you're doing a good job. And when you really screw up, most organizations will not do the hard thing, take time to look and figure out how you did wrong and accept responsibility. And we've been doing that for 6 years. That's why we're here. Okay, we're about to wrap it up. Any other comments anyone wants to make?
Just be mindful that while we are growing, there will be potential false flag affiliations with us to show that we are radical or extreme conservative. That we invite moderates, we invite liberals and conservatives, but we are by no means extreme. So we have to be mindful that there will be, I believe, agitators to try to get that name. Republicans.
I'm sorry, the audio's cutting out.
Yeah, that will be bad. Be one of the parties that give.
It's all distorted, Fuji. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Here to be the that's inclusive, tolerant, conservative, if you're libertarian, if you're liberal, you're invited to. All we ask is that you be open-minded and tolerant of other people's opinions and beliefs. That's what California's about. Our diversity is what makes us special. That's California's special and magical ingredient. The more diverse we become, the better.
I'm sorry, Fuji. The audio cut out. There's a bad internet connection. Maybe try your laptop, whatever. But okay. All right. Any other comments from anybody else? We're gonna shut it down here in about a minute. Anyone else? Any other comments? Okay, then that concludes our meeting. We'll be back next Sunday at 11, as we always are. You are invited if you're a Californian or like California. Also, Political Party Exploration Committee, this Tuesday at 7, this Tuesday at 7, this Tuesday at 7, this Tuesday at 7. When? Tuesday. What time? 7. What? The Political Party Exploration Committee.
California time.
California time.
Thank you.